Recap in minutes. In today's video, we will be enjoying an action biography film entitled Lone Survivor. There will be spoilers ahead. Chill out and enjoy. The movie begins sometime in a deserted land, where Marcus Luttrell, a Navy SEAL, is rescued by an air ambulance. The medical team tries to save his life, as he recalls the events 3 days earlier. At a Navy SEAL camp in Bagram Air Base, Michael Murphy wakes up to find a message from his fiancée, suggesting a wedding gift for her. She asks to receive a horse. Thus, he asks Luttrell about Arabian horses, which he says are expensive. After that, Murphy and his comrades bond for some time, before their lieutenant commander, Eric Christensen, calls for a meeting. In the conference, their commander briefs them on their assignment in Afghanistan, to locate and kill Ahmad Shah, a Taliban leader that's killed many American Marines. Routes and waypoints are planned out, and they are divided into 4-man squads. The following day, Shane Patton, a new frogman, proceeds to do an initiation in front of the other experienced comrades. After many insults and interruptions, he finally does it. He dances goofily in front of the men. After that, he gives an initiation speech about the Navy, while the men watch and critique him intently. After the groups prepare their gear and ammunition, they enter the plane to start their mission. The first squad, Michael Murphy, Matthew Axelson, Danny Dietz, and Luttrell, are dropped off during the night. They begin trekking through the terrain according to their route. When the sun rises, the group decides to move to a new, more hidden spot. When they move, they see a village in the distance, controlled by the enemies, the Taliban. They single out Ahmad Shah, and move to a different spot to sleep. However, they begin to wake up when they hear rustling noises close by. They tense up and get their guns ready, just to see a flock of goats passing by them. Confused, they stare at them, until they see an old shepherd following the goats. They quickly hide behind the trees, while 2 younger boys follow the shepherd. When one of the boys steps on Luttrell's leg, a quick hostage situation ensues. They silence and tie up the shepherd along with the boys. After a quick search, they find that the shepherd has a phone with him. They suspect that he is one of Shah's men. After Dietz's phone fails, Murphy calls the base. Through the static, he gets to the other end and asks for the commander. However, the line gets cut before the commander can speak to him. After a hostage tries to scream for help, an argument arises between Luttrell, Axelson, and Dietz. They debate whether they should kill their hostages, or leave them. They are torn between doing what they must do, and keeping their humanity. However, everything gets settled, when Murphy concludes to let the hostages go. As the base fails to contact the group, the squad moves up the mountain. As it gets steeper, Axelson accidentally slips and injures his knee. When they reach the top, they become disappointed when they see that they're at a false summit. Axelson tells them they're in a dangerous position, so Murphy tells them to go back down to the trees and stay there until sunset. Back at the base, Christensen calls his commander, Shriver, and tells him they lost contact with Murphy's squad. Shriver becomes indifferent towards Christensen, and yells at him for failing to control the problem. Christensen wraps up the conversation, and hangs up. In the mountains, Murphy moves away from the group to watch the enemy, but gets taken aback when he sees many Taliban lined up in the distant mountains. He slowly returns to the group, and tells them about what he's seen. They hurriedly prepare themselves for the gunfight that's about to come. As everything becomes still, Dietz spots a Taliban hiding behind a tree. In an instant, bullets are exchanged. As the group moves between the trees, they kill some of the Taliban. However, as the enemy advances, the frogmen get hit by bullets. As the scene intensifies, they get surrounded by the enemy and immediately decide to retreat. They run until they meet a high ledge. With no options left, the group jumps off the ledge. They tumble down the steep terrain, consequently hitting their bodies against trees and rocks. After the shock from their fall, they regroup and try to make a new plan. Though they're hidden, a bullet hits Dietz's foot, kickstarting another gunfight between them and the enemies above. They suffer more injuries and start running into the woods, but Dietz becomes unable to walk when he gets shot again. Luttrell pulls him up, practically dragging him as they continue to flee from the enemy. The squad hides behind big rocks to catch their breath. As they curse at the poor communication connections, Luttrell checks on his comrades, helping them with their wounds. Dietz, dumbfounded and overwhelmed with the pain, accidentally talks loudly. The enemies hear him and start shooting at their spot. Murphy quickly tells them they should slide down the big rocks to escape. When Axelson throws a smoke bomb, they all slide down. As Murphy and Axelson slide down, Luttrell carries Dietz. However, when Dietz gets shot, Luttrell loses balance and drops Dietz on the ledge, while he slides down alone. He rolls and tumbles against the hard rock, hitting his head and back. As the now 3-man squad scrambles across the rocks, the enemy quickly follows up on them. As the pressure builds up, Murphy tells his group that he'll climb to the top even if that's where the enemies are to call QRF for backup. His men tell him not to, but as more bullets and RPGs strike nearer, they know his sacrifice is necessary for their survival. Despite the imminent danger, Murphy hurries up the rock-filled slope. Even with bloodied limbs, he continues to run up. When he finally reaches the top, he calls QRF as multiple shots are fired through his body. When Sergeant Haslert picks up, Murphy asks for support but fails to give his exact location. He eventually falls to his knees and dies. Back at the base, the troops quickly gather and prepare to consolidate Murphy's squad. Thus, 2 aircraft fly to their location. Meanwhile, Luttrell and Axelson talk amidst their enemy's guns. However, as the enemy starts shooting, they split up and begin firing back. While the aircraft supports make their way to the stranded pair, they get a call saying they don't have gunship support. Nevertheless, the officer driving the plane tells them that they will do their best to help them land safely. When Axelson and Luttrell see the backup, they become ecstatic. As the vessels land on the top of the mountain, a few frogmen drop in an attempt to rescue them. However, everything goes wrong when an enemy RPG blasts right inside the aircraft, killing everyone in it with a big explosion. Because of the precarious situation, the other aircraft takes off, leaving Axelson and Luttrell dejected. As Axelson continues to find Luttrell, he encounters enemies and gets shot down, but he continues to fight and kills them. He sloppily walks through the woods as he bleeds out. Running into more enemies, they exchange bullets until Axelson eventually dies with a shot to the head. In another part of the forest, Luttrell gets hit by an RPG. As the enemies draw closer, he quickly tucks himself inside a ledge and stays there. When the enemies leave, he comes out and looks at his wounds and sees a bone sticking out. He pushes it back in with stifled screams of agony and starts walking. When he sees a pond, he drops his gun and dives into the cool, refreshing water. He enjoys the moment for a few seconds until an Arab named Gulab, who his son follows, sees him. Luttrell quickly becomes paranoid and pulls out a grenade, threatening to kill all of them. Gulab tries to calm him down in another language and helps him up. Gulab leads him to his village and hides him away in a room, where he's shown through a map, his location. He asks Gulab to help him send a message to the American base nearby. Gulab gives the task to a fellow Arab, who does so diligently. Suddenly, the Taliban returns and raids the village, looking for Luttrell. Even with Gulab's son's help, Luttrell is discovered. He is then taken to Tarak, Shah's right-hand man, and engages in a heated, vulgar conversation. When Tarak is about to cut his head off, Gulab and other Arabs immediately gang up against Tarak, pointing guns at him and his crew. Tarak releases Luttrell and retreats. When Luttrell is brought back to the building, he asks for a knife and manually removes the bullets from his skin. Trying not to scream, he pulls out trapped debris from his wound and passes out. Gulab cleans him up as he rests. When he wakes up, he's given food, water, and hospitality. Gulab explains to him that they don't like the Taliban either. Suddenly, their room is caught in an explosion. In an instant, gunfights begin outside between Ahmad Shah's men and the Arabs. Gulab's son tries to help Luttrell hide, but one of Shah's men finds him and gets into hand-to-hand combat. He chokes Luttrell with all his might. When Luttrell almost faints, Gulab's son hands him a knife. Swiftly, Luttrell stabs the Taliban. At the same time, the American Air Force arrives at the scene. They take control of the entire situation, and end up saving Luttrell. Luttrell frantically thanks Gulab and his son, and makes his way to the plane. As Luttrell is put in immediate medical care, he loses his pulse. However, the movie ends with Luttrell coming back to life. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more videos like this, and help the channel grow.